How do you make sure that your resources are always prepared for what's coming?
The roles that people were in will not necessarily be the same.
First building the mindset, then build the tool set, and then the skill set.
How many people are able to do more value added jobs, and in the process are we able to still keep the human touch of it?
Too much of ChatGPT also is not good for you.
It's a lot of hyperbole right now, but we are there.
We are also trying to see how we can kind of leverage this option to kind of create adaptive contents.
You lose your current job, but there are 20 other destinations that are lined up for you.
We have attempted to create something called Coursera Coach, which is a learner facing tool.
Keshav is the head of learning and development at KPIT. Thank you, Keshav. Vibhuti is the global head for talent skilling at Wipro. Suvro Rai Chaudhary is the director of head HR for APAC at Delivery Center CGI. We've got Raghunandan, who's the national manager for L&D at Hindustan Coca-Cola. We've got Krishna Maniramaya, the APAC head of human resources at Altimetric. Arushi is the head of business for India at Coursera for Business, and Rupesh joins us as the principal director for learning at LTI Mindtree. Shubhashri is the director of HR at UiPath. Lovely. Thank you so much for all of you for joining us here in this little conversation to really understand what is the role AI is playing and how is it making your job either challenging or far more interesting. On behalf of Business Insider India and Coursera for Business, it's an absolute delight to host you here and for the dining experience. Really, one of the first things I want to really talk about is that we all talk about AI. What are some of the things that AI has really unlocked which you felt was a curveball, which you did not anticipate, even after knowing that AI is something that has been in the sidelines for the last 2-3 years? But what is something that caught you unawares? Something that was like, oh, okay, this is fun. You want to start, Vipti?
I can start. Sure. So for me, AI has been existing for a while, right? If not more, 30 years at least. So there has always been an element of AI in everything. So what is becoming, or what is the change that we are looking at right now? AI is making a lot of things easier for us, right? So for example, we used to play middlemen in many cases, right? It is becoming the shadi.com for people, right? You have the need,
Right.
you have the people. We were the middlemen to make it match, right? Or whatever is required to be done. The Kundli matching we used to do, not anymore. That is done by AI.
Fantastic. Lovely.
Yeah.
Krishna?
I totally agree. In fact, AI has been there for actually more than that, actually, from probably in the 60s, 70s, just that it has been evolving continuously. Some of the things that AI has certainly helped us is like automate a lot of stuff, actually. And that gives back a lot of time back to the HR professionals to think more strategically on where they want to really invest their time and energy. Like, for example, let's say, back, let's say 20 years back, if you were to look at the whole screening in itself of profiles was a big task, actually. Today, it's all done like in a jiffy, right? You have your AI do that match and you have it already then. So much of time and energy saved. Like that, there are multiple examples of where AI is really helping, and I'm pretty sure it will continue to help. AI is actually it is there to help, not to. That's what I.
No need to panic.
Yeah, no need to panic.
You
just need to know how to use that. Actually.
Correct. Suvra, do you think people are figuring out how are we on that path of figuring out how to use AI, and what does it unlock for you?
I think you used a very interesting word right in the beginning, at the setting of it, Ashwin. I'll pick it up from there. You used the word experimentation, right? I mean, if you look at Kobe's learning styles, we talk about experiences, experimentation, conceptualization, and so on and so forth. I think a lot of it in the AI space is about that. But let me concretize it to examples that I have seen, I think, in the HR function at least, and the L&D is a subset of it. I'll talk about 6 to 7 areas that I have seen tremendously impacted by HR. One is talent acquisition from the profiling standpoint. The next big wave is in L&D, or it's already on. We are seeing tremendous amount of content, rapid content creation and curation. We are seeing virtual mentoring based on profiles of the mentee, virtual mentoring based on AI. We are seeing tremendous amount of NLP dissection of large scale data. Because today, if we have to converge on what we have to produce to our clients, it's all about convergence of data. And that data resides in our employee self-service tools. It resides in our customer service satisfaction. This thing resides in our voice of member surveys, etc., etc. I think only a tool like AI can grasp, digest, assimilate, and give us insights, provided we are in a position to validate that. And that is going to be that upheaval moment that I'm looking forward to. But let me tell you, I'll be very honest, it's a lot of hyperbole right now. But we are there.
But are you at this moment cracking your knuckles and saying this is fun?
It's fun. It's absolute fun. I mean, I wrote my Python program just 2 weeks back. Trust me, on a semantic analysis, on qualitative analysis of 1,400 data points that came from our last member surveys, it was an outstanding sentiment analysis that was done, including graphing. Very, very expensive. And so fundamentally, I'm hearing a lot of things that, it can produce anything. Who's the one to validate that? Now, being a specialist in the field for 23 years, I wouldn't be saying that I'm an expert in validating it, but you kind of know what the boundaries are. And what I saw as an output was outstanding. Depending on what you prompt, of course. It's very easy to do it in Python. You can copy the code from ChatGPT, but use it internally on your Python scripting machine. The output was fabulous. Just a concrete example of concrete experiences as
It also goes back to the 1980s adage of Gigo, right? In the sense
that garbage in, garbage out. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. You seem to be agreeing with that.
Yeah. So I think AI is an enabler, right? So if you look at the old ages when the computers were there, when computer and internet get into, so a lot of things happen, right? So that's why it keeps evolving. Like data is a fuel, like digital is an oxygen. So similarly, AI is an enabler. So there are pros and cons. While people say a lot about AI, so many things are coming, but I think it's all about, for me, it's knowing, doing, being, and becoming. That's how you have to evolve. You can't start doing and becoming. You have to start knowing. So that's where we in an L&D also, we are focusing in a structured way. First building the mindset, then build the tool set, and then the skill set. That's the approach that we as an L&D professional have to give to our own employees to upskill, reskill, and then keep adapting, because we should first get adapt to the change and bring that change to our organization. So I read in one of the report recently, so this says 75% of employees says that they are using AI, they are getting productive, they are enjoying it, they are being creative, they are saving time. While around 79% of leaders says that yes, we have to adapt AI. We need to kind of leverage AI, but same 79% of leaders are also saying that they don't have a clear plan.
It's called
and
shadow
strategy.
AI.
Yes.
It's about shadow AI usage, which is fundamentally employees using AI,
Yes.
but the management is not aware of it. But they're still getting results.
Employees are using, and when we go to anybody so saying that we want to build procurement, for example, they want to kind of leverage AI, but we ourselves putting a boundary that is it safe? What data is going in? IT is coming in. I think it's a journey. So I think we need to kind of remove those barriers, see how we collaborate and work with all the functions. That's one of the challenge that we see is how data is protected when people use. But if you ask me, people have started using. Employees have already started using, and they are talking about it.
There are secret groups that have shared AI usage, which is like somebody buys a 4.0 plan, and there are a bunch of people. I'm like, this is getting to be like a geek sharing, like share and get. Rupesh, you've been smiling a lot, so.
So basically, as we all know, the standard definition, it's like a study of mental faculties using various computational models, right? So we were always knowing it by theory so far, and we are seeing that in action today. And largely, when I agree to whatever all of you told here, we have been also kind of contemplating and starting off with our initial pilot. We are doing AI-based avatar related mentoring, coaching, those kind of activities also we have started off as we speak. So it's been very interesting, the way it gives you different dimensions in one angle. In the other angle, the dimensions are, should we really think that way kind of thing. It's just like experimentation, and from the perspective of PDCA cycle, when you have to really plan and check what really works well and we need to go about doing that. That's what I feel.
Thanks,
And-
Rupesh. Keshav?
So AI and Gen AI, you have to take these two steps. So in automotive world, AI was there, and this is huge, right? We are moving towards autonomous car,
Yeah.
which I'm not very big fan of it.
You won't like San Francisco.
No, the reason being that if we have autonomous car, a lot of drivers will lose the job, and that is something that I don't want technology to go back and do this. But level 3, level 4 autonomous is very good. So we had already in AI, deep in AI, where writing the algorithms where you can find out driver drowsiness, driver behavior, all such things. Made the products, sold the products, and other things. So AI was something that was edge to all these engineering folks. And I come from engineering background. I'm not an L&D professional. And as a company, we were having really edge on that. Audio, video, radar, doing that algorithm. When it came Gen AI, that is a transformation because when you are interacting with the car, you have buttons and other things. Now car and human can interact in the same language. Right? That is the transformation that has to come. Now, what will be the real product? We don't know. Like people are talking to Alexa, somebody has put okay Google. In fact, Chinese guys have gone and put a robot in a car which keeps watching you, and according to your moment in the car, they play the song. So somebody is doing cuddling in the background and they play the romantic song. If rain is there and you talk about so good weather, they will do all this screen roof opening, all such things. So transformation, Gen AI, the human-machine interface in your language is possible. And that is the transformation that happens. Now coming to the function, how we are going to utilize it. Car, it will take some time to come. From our company perspective, we have a thought process that we are not going to do something which will harm people's job. Right? People have to be sure that there's no jobs issue. But we want productivity to enhance. Second thing that happens in the car software, you have a huge problem of safety, reviews, and right? Can we utilize Gen AI to go back and do those type of things, right? Get ease of it. Every algorithm, can Gen AI review and tell me that what is can be done? So I am like right now from the one CEO has given that competency-based hiring. Okay, so I come from engineering background, doing the engineering delivery, and given this function, can we look into? So we started looking to JD that business is giving to us. I questioned that your JD is not correct. Then he said that how JD is not correct because I created ChatGPT JD from your requirement, and this is what it says. Now, how can you go back and look into your JD? When JD was looked into that, I said I missed out on this thing. Let me add it. Then we created complete JD, asked with the OpenAI. What are questions that I should ask? How much hours I should take interview? Which areas should I put into? So if engineer is taking interview, he's just ask, give me your project detail, ask some 3-4 questions that is done. Now today, you have structured that whole process. And then we are working with the vendor where we are giving this structured thing and there will be human avatar to take the interview. So your L1 interview, which where the engineering team was busy and they were doing it, all this get automated by giving this whole process. So this is what we are doing for the recruitment part. On the L&D perspective, all the department and everybody has been trained to reduce the support work. Reduce as much of support. Somebody is asking, how can I do this? How can I do that? Bring the ChatGPT or OpenAI into our database where people can find it out. I don't need to tell them that in Coursera you can go and get this course, or in my LMS system you can get this course. Right. You can just find. So this Gen AI is transformative. Now, people ask me as a human, what is that will make it successful? I say that whatever AI you bring it, but human intelligence will make it successful. So
Nice.
you have the intelligence, Gen AI, but finally the person has empathy, can understand. Right? I cannot go back and throw assessment to a person like this saying that, okay, AI has created, go and do that. Have you gone through the assessment? Have you given yourself interview? When vendor came, I said that I want to give interview to find out how much anxiety I am having to talk to machine before piloting to anybody else.
Yeah.
The moment you have the human intelligence and take that as a co-pilot, what Microsoft has given name is correct name. You cannot be it cannot be pilot and you cannot become co-pilot. You have to be pilot and it has to be co-pilot.
That reminds me, there's a business that's out there that I was reading about saying that their job is to only give you names for companies who are using AI-based products, which is like potential. I mean, somebody had to think of a BlackBerry.
One of the model people came back to me that can you solve this? And I showed them in the ChatGPT solving this problem. And I will solve you using the GenAI, and then you go back and do it from next time. Right? They came back, we wanted to have hackathon. What should be the name? I said, don't ask me. Let's go back to ChatGPT and ask. And then we kept on doing the prompt engineering to get the name. And what is the... So this is where I'm pushing everyone to get the product in answer. Your thought process, if your boss can think here and you are not able to think there, at least can you reach here by using GenAI?
Yeah.
Right? This is what the difference that we want to bring in.
Thank you for that.
Eager to move to the next question, right?
No, Jerry, I wanted to ask in what Shubhashri was thinking about this. No, please go on.
So two things. I agree and disagree with my friend Keshav. So disagreement is AI will take away jobs. AI will certainly take away jobs. Okay, but that's where this fraternity comes into play, right? We are the ones to proactively figure out what those people are supposed to do.
No, which is fantastic. Let's talk about that. In fact,
So
what are the kind of skills that you should be talking about?
So
Yeah.
when you are tasked to figure out what that set of people who potentially would lose jobs because of AI 6 months down the line are supposed to do, you can use AI to figure out in a way the Google path to the next job.
How much of it is a genuine worry for you that they are
It is
going
not. It is
But
not.
is there a sentiment worry in the industry that I'm going to be?
See,
Yeah. So how can all of you alleviate that worry?
No, absolutely.
Because as professionals who are reskilling people,
Yeah, there are already platforms in place. I have not checked Coursera in the recent past, but there are already platforms in place that would, basis what the industry is looking for, the skill clusters or the combination of skills. Today, if you are here, they would actually draw up a Google path of 4
Reskilling.
destinations where you can reach, AI driven primarily.
Absolutely.
So, you lose jobs, of course. You lose your current job, but there are 20 other destinations that are lined up for you with the help of AI. So, where AI is taking away your current job, AI is also giving you options without the middlemen or the pundits, as I said, shadi.com. We are typically the pundits right, in between, right? So, without us, AI is actually telling you what all can you do and what does it take to do that. Proactively, this fraternity can proactively work towards ensuring that those people may lose the current job, fine, but they will have more, strategic work to do.
right?
Yeah, they can think through. They will have higher order work to do, higher value work to do.
So I'll tell you, job loss will happen. But the job loss that is currently planned, like support functions, right? People who are doing the mundane work, with GenAI can do it. My hunch is that to reduce the job, like suppose today the guy who's writing the code. Now, is that a mundane work? It is not a mundane work. Can it generate a safety code? It can generate the safety code. If it can find out a code at 128-bit AAC logarithm on the disk, right? Ultimate output. You don't have developer also who can write 128-bit AAC logarithm. And the image can find out that this is what it's doing. What human can do on that part, right? So my hunch is that the number of days of working has to reduce.
No, and what I agree to, right? I did not get to what I agree to what Keshav said. The co-pilot bit. We will always be the pilot. Yeah. There are many WhatsApp groups where you keep getting these messages. I don't know if it is true. If someone can type Mother Teresa fighting poverty on ChatGPT, see what comes out.
Oh, I wouldn't know that. But no, talking about AI
Just
AI,
think of it, and there is apparently it would throw up an image that would surprise you.
don't want to try. Don't want the algorithms to start having opinions about me. But talking about AIs and jobs and opening up new opportunities and AI giving you the opportunities, I presume this is now a product thing that you are thinking about, because my introduction to AI was Andrew Ng's course 6 years back, when in media we were hearing words like AI, and AI is going to take away our editorial jobs to choose the right theme. We were running and trying to upskill ourselves there. But how is that? I mean, people come to you to learn about AI, but what is AI doing to that entire function of teaching people for you?
Sure. So, I'll speak about a few different elements that we've spoken about today. So, since you mentioned Andrew, who's our founder, we were founded 12 years ago as a company. He's a Stanford professor of AI. And one of his famous lines is that AI will be the new electricity, which means it'll be around us. We will all be consumers, but there will only be a few who will be producers and who'll actually need to know the mechanics of how it's done. So that will also be true for Gen AI, where some of us will play the producer role of how to do productivity enhancements at the structural level by creating something through Gen AI, and others will be the consumers of Gen AI and AI, where we won't necessarily know the mechanics of it, but we will definitely be users, right? So I think that distinction becomes quite important, which is the first point. The second one is around, there is research which says that about 49% people will have half of their job tasks changed. So it is not that their entire role will be obsolete, but 50% of what they were doing in their regular day to day will actually change. So the point comes on how can that available time be used productively for other things. So, given we've spoken about learning and development here, L&D will be one of the most impacted fields because of Gen AI. We already spoke about how content curation, pedagogy of how it should be created, how it should be disbursed, personalized learning. A lot of these innovations are being done through Gen AI much faster. So the roles that people were in will not necessarily be the same. So this gives us the opportunity to do things more better, and that's really the improvement. So this one very famous catchphrase is that AI will take my job to the next level. So it is not that AI will take my job, but it will take it to the next
That's
level.
exactly
and
what I said.
and that's the thinking that people are adopting. And the third thing that I would say is that job loss has been a theme which has typically been thought of at the low skill level so far, right? So there were always bank tellers and cashiers and all of these jobs which were always thought will be impacted because of automation. We are in a situation where the higher skill jobs, so to say, the white collar jobs are the ones which are being impacted for the first time probably through Gen AI. And it's such a different thinking that we are now having. It's not the unions that are talking about jobs changing. It is a boardroom topic, and which is why it becomes so important to look at this as productivity improvement. So one example that I'll give is a marketing professional will not have to spend as much time writing copy, but they will be able to do A/B testing by having 5 versions released and having the highest revenue for the company. So I think that is the thinking that is coming in the leadership, C-suite, and learning fraternity in terms of how do we use this for gains versus really being worried about where we are going from here.
Yeah, I think a lot of the worry is also knee-jerk reaction fundamentally until you start thinking about
Because it's new, right? I mean, like everybody are wondering, how this Gen AI is going to, pan out. And I think that's where the whole anxiety is. But I think, I agree with what Darushi was saying, right? I mean, it will only help people with their jobs. It is not going to take away their jobs as such, right? It's just that they need to know how to use that. And I think, you did ask a question in terms of what's the industry take today. I mean, of course, engineers are worried about that today. But there are also a set of engineers who are thinking that, this is really going to help me. And I think this is where organizations, especially the L&D function, right, within the organization, and other, platforms that there are available outside there today, like the one of yourself, they come together and create that platform for the engineers so that, they carve out their path actually. Wherein, the organization very clearly tells that, okay, you are here today and these are the deficits, right, in terms of the skill deficits. And these are the things that you need to upskill. And this is where you will go if you do this one. And I think with that, a clear career path, there is a very, I don't think so there's anything for engineers to really worry about this.
I think I would second to that. Without the human, the Gen AI is not going to work. Unless I have those new models coming in, how is AI even going to interpret and throw those new results? Without those inputs coming in, that's the core of the thing which we are probably not thinking too much into that space. Therefore, the edge and the human there is the key to the whole thing. And as many humans are going to put in, the machine learning is going to draw those algorithms and throw outputs.
But my worry is that a lot of that learning is going to be in silos because companies are not going to want to share what their learnings are. So I'm thinking that, we have all this data, and it's just going to be in silos that are not talking to each other, which is going to lead into a different level of problems in the sense that it will not reach the potential of what it can if everybody was talking to each other. But again, that's
Actually, Ashwin, I have a different point of view. I mean, Arshu, you can pitch in because
Yeah.
you're from one of the
Yeah.
platform. I think that's where we see the platforms really playing that role, because pretty much if you see the industry, you to an extent you're right, wherein everybody have their own set of technologies or what they are working on. Like for example, he said automotive, and somebody is working on fintech, he's probably in the CPG retail, right? So everybody have their own set, but then there is also some uniformity which is coming in, and the platforms are the ones where everybody leverages on that. So that's where you draw that input, and then you see where the industry is heading. You as an organization, you know very well where the technology is heading, right? So that is the outside in view, and inside out, you know what your customers want also, right? These are two different, very important aspects which the L&D function needs to bring, right? And if we can create that path, I don't see that that industry will be going in different directions. It will be going in the same direction.
Yeah. And if I can say that, so that we practice what we preach, right? So we're saying that the outside in, which is the table stakes, which, it is our responsibility to make sure that that basic level is available for all consumers that want it. So we bring the best of the quality of content across. But the inside out, and that is where we've said, let's use Gen AI not only for teaching Gen AI, but also for our own product. So we've created a product called Course Builder. And what that does is adds organizational context, which really brings beauty to the content which is being learned. So, let's say you're learning data science or you're learning a managerial skill. What is the company context that needs to be woven in for that to be so much more impactful? Because if you're just going to use generative AI as a Google search, it's not going to probably be as useful. But if you can use it as a thought partner, and a simple example that we did is we said, let's put in our annual report into ChatGPT, and it has the context. And now let us ask the question of what is the future role of a customer success manager going to be, given the context and given the platform, and let's take this to our customers and provide this to them, with our knowledge. So I think the context, which is the inside out that we spoke about, is always going to be proprietary to the company, and everybody wants to get an edge in the business, right? That's never going to go away. But the outside in is something that we've seen can become table stakes.
Thanks, Arushi. Now, I will come to one last theme that I need to touch upon for sure before we end up for the day, and that is what are the results that you expect from, at this point of time, of course, with AI and Gen AI still finding, let's say, steady footing in businesses. I think that's the best way I can put that in. If you're going to be deploying any of these technologies in any initiative, what are the kind of metrics that you would use to gauge its effectiveness and its success inside your business in this very experimental stage? And Surabh?
I think Arushi already talked about productivity improvement. I'm not going there because productivity improvement, I mean, it's a very business term, and I dislike that term because we have so many misinterpretations of that term. But if we are to talk about productivity deployment, as many of us in the table were discussing, it's not about productivity from a cost perspective, but how do you make people more productive?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, our clients today are demanding that if you are buying X amount of licenses for AI or asking me to do AI investment, which by the way, CGI has a $1 billion declared AI investment over the next 3 years.
Yes.
Now clients are catching up on that and saying that you give me a 30% cost reduction on what you're billing. Now that is becoming a big challenge, and there's a lot of misinterpretation around that, right? What is productivity? So I'm not going there exactly, but yeah, definitely productivity improvement in some size, shape, format. But I think where we are trying to get a hold on is whether learning and development in general and AI enablement of learning and development. One is apart from the ethical part of it, interspacing with humanistic, is giving us an analogical sense, not analytical, which is about bringing in multiple elements on interdisciplinary thinking. To say that if I have a problem in one area, the solution could be coming in from a completely different area, right? And this is typically what AI language talks about. I mean, if you know what Monte Carlo simulation is, it goes on from node to node, optimizing that node which has the maximum amount of success. And that was a very human way of thinking. Today, if the transformer is doing it for us and plowing it back in a double loop learning, we realize that some of the areas that we think the solution lies in is not where it is. I will give you one example. Hopefully I'm not exceeding time,
No,
but I
please go
can't
ahead.
go without setting an example because it's all English otherwise. We got into the first ESRO project. That's ESRO, which is E with an ISRO, which is European Space Research Organization, back in the 1970s. We were doing pretty much ground operations, complicated but conventional technology to do spacecraft operations, etc., etc. We learned from there. We plowed that back in years later to be working with the EXO Rover's Mars project right now, which is about a vision location, which will give scientists with an unprecedented amount of detail in terms of what the surface of Mars is looking like. But that's not the point. I mean, we have learned from one that was machine learning, possibly moving into AI, etc., etc. But the way organizational learning has evolved is something that is astounding. And that is AI enablement, because today it's not about the detail which lies in form of an obstruction on the course of a rover on the face of Mars. It could be an obstruction in the heart. It could be an obstruction in the supply chain thing. Now, once you are starting to work on AI enablement in technology, that analogical thinking that I'm talking about brings in so many aspects, because you are using reusability and so on and so forth. And that is where the human thing comes in. You have technology, but are you thinking analogically enough? So I think what we are referring to and what we are looking forward to is, are we using AI and interspaced with human intelligence towards trusted and accelerated outcomes, towards bringing that analogical and making sense of the world. And by the way, we can't make sense of it, because every time we think we are making sense of it, goes back to that Aristotelian metacognitive question, right? What do we learn about learning? That's
We should find AI to answer. Subhashri?
So I think looking at what sort of metrics, going back to your question, right? What may be of importance is, how do I really upskill our people, and are they able to do more valuable jobs than what they are doing today? End of the day, I'm coming from an automation software company, and our work has been automating a lot of monotonous processes that have been there, whether the bank caller's job or whatever jobs that were there in the market. So initially, as an automation company, we used to face this thing of, okay, you're going to create job cuts in the market with the software there, right? But from there, AI has taken bigger shape. Now, what is more important is how many of that would be a brilliant metrics to look at. How many people are able to do more value-added jobs, and in the process, are we able to still keep the human touch of it to build your AI to take it to a next scale? That's what I would want to look at.
Thank you, Subhashri.
Yeah, so looking into the L&D, right? So currently what happens is the team in L&D helps in kind of creating a content or suggesting a learning plans, learning pathways. So what we have actually explored or started doing is that there is an authoring tool with AI enabled. So it actually helps if you put any kind of content, it gives you a kind of complete output of the program, right? So with the structure, with the flow, with the topics, with the outcome. So now what we are also exploring is how can we decentralize, where the function, there are SMEs, there are so many materials, training materials that are available in various formats. So this AI authoring tool has the capability, because they don't need that creative or ID instructional designer skill. It just helps and creates. So we want to leverage this and bring more customized content curated and generated by the business itself. So that's something which we are trying to explore. The second one is, today if we do L&D, we do need analysis. We identify what is the top skills, and then we also get into kind of suggesting some of the courses, classroom, virtual. So technology has so evolved. We were exploring some of the part, I'm not naming them, right? So it's completely end to end. So it has a generated assessments readily available. As an employee, you can take your assessment, you know your strengths, you know your development plan. It suggests these are your strengths, this is the program that you have to take, this is where you can get mentoring, coaching, complete curated, where we as an L&D used to give that kind of support. Now system is giving that. So we need to explore, pilot, and see how it works out. If it works out, then we are happy to kind of scale it up.
Nice. Thank you for that. Krishna?
So in my view, I think, we spoke about a lot about the AI part of it, right? So while that is there, I think the success of an organization or L&D as such, right, will be in terms of how do you leverage that and how do you make sure that your resources are always prepared for what's coming versus they becoming obsolete. I think that is the key to making sure that, because if you can prepare them like 6 months in advance and so on, and then they're always ahead of the technology curve, then I think you found your success.
Okay, thank you for that. Krish?
For us, it's more of how quickly we can upskill our employees
Okay.
right from the foundation to the intermediate to the advanced level, all the AI or the Gen AI tools. Then moving on, we believe that the most important thing is in the area of upskill, reskill, and also the areas where we can actually have the bench people skilled in one of the AI areas and see how soon we can kind of put them into some good projects.
Okay.
Definitely, plan versus actuals is one other thing.
Yeah, increase utilization. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is one other thing. And one other interesting area that we are definitely working on is most of us already are familiar with this adaptive assessments, right? So we are also trying to see how we can kind of leverage this option to kind of create adaptive contents, which means that every individual has their own unique needs. It's not like one size fits all approach. So we are trying to see how exactly we can kind of make our engine work in such a way that we can create custom content or recommendations to individuals, including the assessments, using this area so that possibly whatever time we were taking initially, if we are able to see kind of a betterment over and above what it was earlier to what it is now. So these are all some of the aspirational journeys we have taken up.
Nice one. Arushi, I want you to give me an answer in two perspectives. One, what are the most interesting metrics that you have seen your customers implement?
Yeah.
And how are you looking at it from Coursera POV?
Absolutely. So if we talk about the customers first, I think, a couple of examples that I'll take is one is a professional services firm where they said that we want to look at learning and within that AI to be able to create assets which both reduced cost as well as create revenue. So, and we have a case study with them, so I can share the name. So this is PwC, where they have created 650 digital assets on the basis of the learning, where this is actually leading to both time saving as well as this is being monetized in selling this to the customers. And they've done a really great job of codifying all of these things, which make it so tangible, right, in terms of the result. So this is one example of how a customer has done it so well. But broadly, if I were to talk about what's important and how we play a part is, there are two areas that are important for us. The first is the learner and their experience. So ultimately, the learner is the user of anything that we're doing. And the second is the organization and the representation of the organization, which is the learning leaders, the people leaders, and the admins. So if we look at both these fulcrums, the first is, a learner doesn't want a cookie cutter approach. They want to be treated as individuals. We have been talking about personalized learning for years now, but not necessarily coming to a stage where it is truly working. So with Gen AI, we truly have the opportunity to deliver that, and we have attempted to create something called Coursera Coach, which is a learner-facing tool where they actually get the power of Gen AI to personalize their learning, where it's almost like a mentor is sitting next to you and doing this in real time. And the second is the organization and their objective. It may be teaching somebody a new skill. It may be reskilling someone on what they need, or it may simply be learning in the flow of work. And often what happens is you need to learn in the flow of work. And how do you make that easy? And how do you get context? So I already spoke about how we are using Course Builder to be able to create this for the organization. But at the broadest level, how do we work with them hand in hand? The 650 assets was the aspiration of this company. Another company may have a different aspiration. How do we make sure that this is actually moving in the right direction? So that's how we see it. And the second one will never be the same for two companies. It will always be slightly different. And how do we deliver on that?
Kishan?
Yeah, so there are two parts. One is that people who are high performing, right? We know that they are able to get the output. I am given a time that you have to show me 4 hours free in your calendar using the Gen AI.
Okay.
You are working today and show me that which 4 hours you are able to find out. You have to find the tools. That is one part. Second part, the people who are producing any artifacts, your cost of poor quality has to reduce. So either I'm going to review only once or twice. Earlier I used to review 3 times, 4 times your Excel, PPT, whatever it is. Now I'm going to do only 1 or twice. And you are going to do the rework less. Now you figure out what tool you are going to do, insights that you are going to utilize. So this is another part. Now I'll give you a bite that you are looking for. NTAI. Okay?
Okay.
NTAI, what is the hypothesis? Freshers have started using ChatGPT in their college campus.
Yeah.
They are
I
making
have my
projects.
son who uses ChatGPT for his
Cus-
homework.
Yes.
So, 13-year-old kid.
Right. So this is what this has happened. Now college project he has done with ChatGPT, all the necessary that. When it comes to programming, without internet and without ChatGPT, he is not able to think through the problem.
Yeah.
This is the degradation of skill. Because you had, so what we have done in freshers training, we do something called coding marathon. Where from 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock, you have to write the problem statement, solve the problem statement without internet. So this is without internet. Forget about Google, forget about ChatGPT. You don't have Google also to do that. And why we need to do this? My CEO asked me, and everybody said that this is a radical idea. Everybody is going to online. This that you were asking about doing this. I said, see, when your car has a problem in a 40-degree temperature or 50-degree in Rajasthan someplace, you don't expect engineer to have a ChatGPT or internet to fix it. That skill has to be there.
I think that's very important.
You cannot go back and rely on this skill and say that was everything can be solved. So the high performer use your ChatGPT to do that. Average guys perform this one, but keep this skill. Without this, you have to work. And one of the project I was talking about, we went to BL factory to work on a project almost 8 years back. Our laptops were taken, our mobiles were taken. And my engineers were like, what the crap? Now, how will we optimize this thing? There is no internet access. And my engineer can fall back into this position. So I have to keep that skill also. So every time I see and say that, hold on, too much of ChatGPT also is not good for you. Right? Keep that skill where you can write English mail having grammatical error without having this one. So this is what NTA also I have taken a step where you can write the code
Nice.
without
It's
internet.
fairly common in the media space though. You're still given a 2,000-word article and said proofread it or copy check it, and you don't have all those little add-ons that you have on your browser, and you still have to like, okay, how do I go about it? And then you know that
Exactly.
they
Who
know-
is real skilled and not
correct. They've read the Red and Martins, so closing those people.
Okay, so two parts to it.
Sure.
When it comes to measurement, in companies like ours,
It's
talent skilling or L&D doesn't exist for the heck of existing. We impact the whole talent supply chain. So how much are we able to impact talent supply chain is what we are measured on. Now, AI is a significant leverage. It is becoming a significant leverage in many ways. Second thing, when it comes to us, right, I would go to what Arushi said, right? All of us have been to a subway counter, right? We are becoming the subway counter. For a long time, we did one size fits all. One size fits one. You pick those smallest of ingredients and make your subway. That's what it is enabling us to.
Fantastic. Lovely. Thank you so much. It's been a nice, delightful chat listening to all of you talk to me about how you are looking at AI and L&D and the various facets that usually miss us in the media space when we're reading about it, because we generally tend to hear the loudest voices but not the most thought of implementations of how things work, and that's what we heard today very, very loudly. So it's been a delight to have you host you here today, and thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to having you all back again in the next discussion we have in the L&D space. So thank you all so much again.
Thank you very much.